Welcome and now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate you guys being on this live, man. And listen, kind of rap at y'all, man, about this deal that you probably heard about Garrett Wilson getting his paper and how this could possibly impact Chris Olave's deal. So we're going to jump right into it, man. Shout out to you guys. Please do us a service by hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed, hit the notifications bell, and shout out to our show sponsors, Optory, Mint Mobile, and T. Chinley, man. Links are in the description section below. Now let's get right into this article, man. Saints star likely lands bigger deal than Jets Garrett Wilson. Now, of course, fam, y'all know that Garrett Wilson signed a nice size contract recently, with the Jets. The Jets kind of taking care of guys like Sauce Gardner. And then, they did Garrett Wilson's 4-year deal, $130. So taking care of their young, impactful players is a good strategy and makes the team very happy, man. So Garrett Wilson got the 4-year deal at $130. And the guy's been phenomenal. Standout wide receiver. He's been important. The deal includes $90 million guaranteed. It's 4 years at $130. It's reported by Ian Rappaport. It's a $90 million guarantee attached to it with $13.75 million signing bonus and $20 million option bonus in the second year with $10 million option bonus in the third year. He had 2 years remaining on his rookie contract and is now signed with the Jets through 2030. And the guy's just 24 years old, coming off his third straight 1,000-yard season since he was selected 10th overall, and the same draft that Chris Olave came out of, and the same college that Chris Olave came from. So the guy's been incredibly impactful, and he's been awesome. Wilson began an unprecedented run of Buckeye wide receivers being taken in the first round, 4 straight drafts. Talk about Chris Olave in 2023, Jackson Smith Najigba in 24, Marvin Harrison Jr. in 25, Emeka Ogbuka as well. And it's just been really interesting. That class, which also featured fellow first rounder Jermaine Johnson, the second round back Brees Hall, and was led by cornerback Sauce Gardner's selection at number 4. So the Ohio State Buckeye guys, and Wilson hauled in a new deal that puts him among the NFL's highest paid at the position. As an extension will pay him an annual average of $32.5 million, which is 5th in the league among wide receivers. So let me give you the chart on that. As you can see, according to SportTrack, the NFL's top wide receivers in terms of pay, Jamar Chase, over $40 million on top of the list, as you can see annually. Justin Jefferson at 35, CeeDee Lamb at 34, DK Metcalf now with the Steelers at 33, Garrett Wilson, you see 32.5, AJ Brown is 32, Amon St. Brown from Detroit is 30 for Brandon Ayuk, Tyreek Hill has 30, and T. Higgins rounds out the top 10 currently at 28.7 mil. So that's the top wide receivers. Now, how does that impact our guy, Chris Olave? And we'll go over this article right here. Let's go into it here. Shout out to Sports Illustrated here. The New Orleans Saints were watching closely as the Jets extended Garrett Wilson early this week, and particularly Wilson's college teammate Chris Olave must have been observing Wilson's destiny unfold with a razor-sharp interest. That's because Olave himself is hoping to cash in on a similarly massive payday soon. Might have already happened. Have Olave not struggled with concussions in 2024, limiting the star to just 8 games. Before last season, Chris Olave was on a similar path. He really was. To Wilson, production-wise, putting up 2 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons to begin his career. The Saints want to make Olave part of the future, much like the Jets did with Garrett Wilson. And according to Ross, shout out to Ross, and Olave's extension is likely to happen following this year. Not only that, Jackson suggested that Olave, provided he stays healthy, should land a deal as lucrative as Wilson or more so. One of the biggest upcoming contracts New Orleans will need to get settled with will be the Chris Olave contract. Now that those negotiations have impacted thanks to another deal, this 4-year $130, the deal now potentially sets a floor for Chris Olave's contract negotiations. It's like Olave's deal with the Saints won't get done until after the 2025 season, giving him a chance to rebound from last year's shorthanded effort and therefore a chance to earn maximum value. Should that happen, the $32.5 million per year deal is likely to be the starting point for those contract talks. Now, Olave and Wilson also be linked in addition to being college teammates. They were drafted right next to one another in the 22 draft, and all goes well. Olave this season, he'll probably be receiving a congratulatory text from Wilson next summer, much like the one Olave may have sent Wilson. So do you guys see this as such? Chris Olave, to me, is a hell of a wide receiver. Yes, he has been dealing with a litany of injuries, especially from the concussion standpoint. And like how astutely mentioned, concussions are not something that you just go out there and you just prompt it. People hit him in his helmet. There's no defense against somebody concussing you. I've been saying that all the time about Chris Olave. It don't matter what size you are or how big you are. If a guy hits you in your helmet the right way, you will get concussed. With that being said, let me kind of share with you guys, you see his stats right there lining up in Chris Olave's current contract, as according to Over the Cap, where you can see in 2026, Chris Olave's deal catapults from the $1.4 million that he has in base salary to $15.4. Right. So the Saints are definitely want to get that taken care of. And the 15.4 in their eyes, based on the $30 million a lot of these wide receivers are getting, is actually a discount. But will it stay there? A lot of people think this. If Chris Olave stays healthy, it could very well be the case. Now let's kind of delve into the injury history of Chris Olave, because we often talk about it. And this is hit. Shout out to Draft Sharks. This is how they label Chris Olave's injury guide. And they mention him as high risk. Chance of injury in the upcoming season, they give him almost 69%, 6.6% injury per game. So they kind of elevating his stuff, and they're showing where he's been hurt. They're showing you 5 injury concussions. Now you're like, damn, I was aware of it. He also had a thigh unspecified sprain that happened in 2019. He had a pedal ankle sprain pull, which was grade 1. So you had that happening for Chris Olave, but 5 concussions. If you look at it to 2020, and there's actually a timeline here that shows you Chris Olave's injury history. I just pulled this up for the family so they can see what he's dealing with. And it starts off, right, 2019, when he was still in Ohio State. He suffered a tight hamstring during the practice. And then the neck in 2020, this is college stuff, he suffered a head injury in the Buckeyes season opener versus Nebraska, which was a concussion, grade 1. And when he got drafted on October 9th of 2022, he had a concussion. He was concussed upon scoring in the third quarter. The November 26th of 2023, left the third quarter of Week 12 versus the Falcons due to a concussion. He returned to play the following week. Later on, like a month later, he had a pedal ankle sprain, suffered right ankle sprain in the Week 14 matchup against the Panthers. He only missed 1 game, right? So we had stuff that he was able to return from, right? And then, of course, the following year, October 13th of 2024, he had another concussion. He suffered a concussion in Week 6 game against the Buccaneers, right? And they listed that as a grade 1. And then, of course, the next month, he had another concussion in Week 9 versus the Panthers. That's the concussion. So they kind of shut him down there. They didn't want to, risk anything. So a lot of concussions right here with Chris Olave. You're going to be considered high risk when you have that many concussions. But do the Saints take a chance on Chris Olave and say, okay, yes, despite the fact we're going to give you your paper, but we just need you to stay healthy. So concussion helmet, Chris Olave really needs to start wearing that padded helmet that they wear. You know what I'm saying, guys? The padded, extra padded helmet that they wear, that they have, concussion helmets, or the foam that he really needs to start wearing that guard cap that, over the top of his helmet. He really needs to do that, man. Let me see if I can pull a picture of that up on that. That's what he really needs to happen. And I think they have that for the standard games. When you playing in the games, you can put this on during the games. Let me see if I can pull it up for y'all. There it is right there. Y'all see that? I don't know if you can have this item that you use and look like they do use it in certain games. It's called a Guardian cap. And this is what he really needs to wear, man. The Guardian cap against the Jets. They do have it in the real games. And that man need to wear this damn thing for the rest of his time. And It says it's a protective shell that goes on top of the player's helmet and is held in place with elastic straps and Velcro. And this is what it do. And it says, does it prevent a concussion? No, it says, no, it cannot. No helmet or helmet pad can completely eliminate the risk of concussion during a football game, but Guardian caps can, let me share it with y'all, but Guardian caps can reduce the impact of big hits. The NFL announced it when it addressed the usage rules, right? The usage rules of this thing. The soft shell can reduce the force head contact by 10% if one of the players in the collision is wearing one, and 20% if all players involved are wearing one. And NFL Executive Vice President Jeff Miller said earlier this year that Guardian caps contribute to nearly 50% reduction in concussions for position groups that wore them during the training camp in 22 and 23, according to ESPN. This is definitely an item that a guy like Chris Olave should be wearing. He's already had 5 concussions for his career, and he really needs to get this Guardian hat or whatever they offer that he can wear during Sunday. To get to that contract, he needed to take 2 of them son bitches and put it on. Is it a rule against wearing 2 Guardian caps? You know what I'm saying? They don't seem like they're heavy, but he need to put 2 of them on is all I'm saying, brother. But anyway, let's kind of look at this thing, man. As you guys can see, let me kind of delve into this thing a little bit, because the reality is this is the combining of the statistics based on Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Look how stunning. Like I said, these guys are comparable. Look at this, the stats. It's not even comparable, right? Garrett Wilson, 51 games played, 39 for Chris Olave, right? Receptions, 279 versus 191, right? That's pretty damn good. Garrett Wilson almost have 100 more catches than him, almost. Receiving yards, 25-65 versus 32-49. You know, you see the difference there. Now, Chris Olave got him in yards per game with 66. He got almost 64 yards in receptions per catch, that 13.4 versus 11.6. Olave has a higher yards per reception average. Receiving touchdowns, 14-10. You know, the catch rate for the career is 63.5 versus 59.5. So Chris Olave got him there. And success rate has a higher success rate, 55.5 versus 48.4. But the man played for the Jets. So let's keep it all the way funky, right? That's some of the stuff. And of course, this is what happened between them last year in 8 games versus 17. You can see the obvious stat differential between the two. But Garrett Wilson's a hell of a wide receiver. So is Chris Olave. Chris Olave been dealing with injuries and issues. But we'll see how it all lands, man. On the other side is that can Chris Olave ultimately land that contract if he stays healthy? But if I was Chris Olave, man, like I said, I would make sure I make myself fine and buy one of these, maybe take 2 of them and wrap them on top of each other to get to the money, man. He should be wearing one of these for the rest of his life, to be honest with you, to keep it all the way funky with you. He should be wearing 2 of them things, you know what I'm saying, to get to the money. But anyway, man, with that being said, fam, listen. Y'all let me know in the comment section how y'all feel about this. I'm not trying to keep y'all up for very long. I just wanted to talk about this contract situation with Chris Olave, kind of hip on it, because I know this is the next big shoe to drop for the New Orleans Saints in terms of what they're going to do with Chris Olave. He's a phenomenal wide receiver. In my estimation, I think terrific. I feel like with a healthy year, it should line him up for something great. But listen, if I'm Olave, hey, bro, go get one of them Guardian caps and wear that sucker, man. Put it on and start wearing it. 5 concussions, brother. You need to, I don't know why these guys, I don't know why. Maybe because it feels like it makes them look goofy or something. I don't know what it is, because they wear it in practice, the lesson, the blow, whatever. And a lot of them don't want to wear it during the game, because I guess it makes them look like they're not cool or whatever. I don't know what it is. But if you want to get to the bag like Garrett Wilson is, you better use any resource that you possibly can. So anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna get out on that, man. Listen, y'all check out our sponsors. They links in the description section below. I'm gonna be back tomorrow with a longer stream to kind of hit at you guys and talk to you more about all the latest stuff with the black and gold, man. We're gonna keep this thing twisting and turning as we get closer and closer to the new season. I see y'all. Shout out to all y'all out there. Y'all do me a service. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and share the show on social media feed. With that, I'm out of here. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all on the next one. Much love. Peace.